The population of this island is changing faster than at any time in its history. In the most recent figures, nearly 500,000 people came to Britain. At the weekend, the Prime Minister declared that those who want to live in this country have a duty to integrate, abide by our laws and learn our language. Yet a BBC investigation has discovered that the taxpayers of Britain are spending untold millions, probably well over £100 million, on translation services which make it unnecessary to learn English and contribute to ghettoisation. The BBC's Home Affairs editor, Mark Easton, reports.
It's a lot of money in anyone's language. Britain's public services are spending millions each week translating for UK residents who don't speak English. Local councils, we calculate at least 25 million a year. The police, 21 million. The court system, 10 million and more. The NHS, a conservative estimate, £55 million. In the East End of London, Bart's Hospital alone spends £1 million a year. We've identified more than £100 million now spent on translation each year, and the true figure is probably much, much higher. The cost to the public purse is soaring. Welcome to Peterborough, where we reckon taxpayers spend in translation costs every year more than £1 million. The local police, the NHS and the local council are enthusiastic in their commitment to what's actually a surprisingly multicultural and certainly multilingual town. In Translation Town, environmental services pound the pavements armed with recycling advice in 15 languages.
So what language do you speak? Where are you from? Polish. Excellent. Czy wyrazi Pani zgodę, żebyśmy sfilmowali rozmowę?
Police support officers learn Portuguese and Polish to converse with the public.
Okay. This is Foot Park. Yeah, do you speak English?
Yeah, no, little English.
Where are you from?
Poland.
And if you can't speak English and want to claim benefits, there's an interpreter on hand.
O zasiłku bezrobotnym, gdzie mogłabym się skontaktować i...
Agnieszka is a Polish civil engineer who's lived in Britain for 3 years, but she still doesn't speak English. Pregnant and out of work, she wants advice on how to get job seekers allowance.
Can I just ask, does Agnieszka think that perhaps if there wasn't all this help, people like you and all the leaflets, perhaps she would have been more encouraged to learn English?
Bardziej zmuszona nauczyć się angielskiego, czy czułaby się Pani bardziej?
No z pewnością tak.
Yes, absolutely.
Please hold, you will be connected to an interpreter.
No, 5 di luglio.
Because I cannot talk to you in Italian, okay?
Okay.
I will call Language Line, it's a company for interpreting.
Okay.
Yeah?
The free translation service is funded at the moment by the Home Office. This centre gets over £2 million, but the burden may soon shift to the council taxpayer.
What we say to people is if they need it in their language, we will make sure that they have it, because we believe that everybody should have equal access.
How many different languages have you been translating into here?
About 76 within the city.
Still, 76 languages. I mean, that's a real demand, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it might be one person on one occasion, that just had to get information about where the local school was.
So one person on one occasion, if they come and they need your help, you will organise that?
We will.
Could you translate the opening times of leisure centres?
Where do councils draw the line on free translation? We rang a dozen local authorities to ask if they'd translate a range of documents for just 100 migrant workers from Romania. The bus timetable, the leisure services calendar for 2007. All but 3 said, yes, they would translate for us, and the local taxpayer would pick up the bill. Often public bodies will quote the Human Rights Act in explaining why they translate. In fact, the Act doesn't require any translation, except when someone's arrested or charged, in which case the proceedings must be understood. But the police in Peterborough, as in most places, go much further.
Yeah, you can read that. It's very good.
Officers carry translated material to help non-English speaking residents understand the law. It's helped push their translation budget to over £300,000 a year. The cost of translation is rising fast. In the last 5 years, the bill for the courts has trebled. West Midlands police translation costs have also trebled to nearly £2 million. And Guy's Hospital in London has seen a 28% increase in a year to nearly £600,000.
Well, I think this speaks volumes, doesn't it? What do you see here?
Well, I don't see a single national newspaper in English, but what conclusion do you draw from that?
Well, the inevitable one, that the people in Brick Lane are cut off and that they want to be. Bangladeshis of the East End can lead lives without any English in them.
Zia Haider Rahman showed me a corner of England where English is a foreign language. Around Brick Lane, shops, restaurants, the doctor's surgery, all cater for a population that speaks Bengali or Sylheti.
Quite a handful here, yeah.
What's that one all about?
This one's about good oral health. Now, if you ask me, if you want white teeth, maybe you should learn English.
Why is it that people aren't learning English, even if they've been here for 20, 30, 40 years?
The answer is twofold. They don't need to, and they don't want to. Bangladeshis in this area are quite remarkably culturally chauvinist.
Away from the smiling public face of the Brick Lane curry houses, Zia offered me a glimpse of a world rarely seen, a society hidden from view. I will call her Asha, not her real name, but she's too frightened to speak openly. Asha has lived in Tower Hamlets for 22 years, she tells me. She speaks not a word of English.
When you are trying to help us, you are actually harming us. Even before we ask, all we have to do is say hello. And they are here with their interpreters. We just sit here doing nothing. And we don't need to speak in English at all. There are lots of brides being brought over here. They are not being allowed to learn English. Because if she goes out, the husband fears she will be corrupted, that she will gain courage and she will learn how to operate in this country. I have never been able to go outside alone because I don't know any English, and I have been afraid to go out because of that.
We went to meet an official from Tower Hamlets Council. Zia wanted to take him to task over a Bengali and Somali pullout in their free newspaper.
This is really quite appalling. This is the sort of thing that undermines the incentive for Bangladeshis in this community to learn English.
I think one of the absolutely strong arguments that we have for having this page, which indeed is titled the Harmony page, is enabling different communities to learn about each other.
With a translation bill of at least £200,000, the question was how far would the council go to support non-English speaking residents? I suspect there'll be quite a lot of people watching this who think the idea that the council should put on, at taxpayers' expense, current affairs lectures in Bengali crosses that line, if you like, of what's really required. But you're saying that you defend that kind of expenditure, that service.
I didn't say I defended the service, and indeed, where's the evidence that we actually provide that?
It's on your screen. It's in the NHS that the largest amounts are now spent on translation. Here at Newham Hospital, the annual budget is £435,000, an increase of nearly £100,000 in a year.
Maria Moraes?
Maria is from Angola and has breast cancer. She's been here for 2 years, but says her illness has prevented her from studying English.
How did you get on with the last lot of the chemotherapy?
Portanto, como é que te encontras com o último tratamento de quimioterapia?
Most would accept we have a moral, if not a legal, duty to translate what's happening. But what about this? Aina came to live in London from Istanbul 5 years ago, but she can still only speak a few words of English. So Islington Primary Care Trust is paying for a Turkish interpreter to offer her one-to-one advice on how to give up smoking.
What would you say to people who think that it is a waste of money to spend our taxes on stop smoking lessons for you in Turkish?
I don't understand.
Her translator helped me pose the question and formulate an answer.
Hakkım var yani.
My rights is...
My rights. My rights.
You think it's your right to have it in Turkish?
Yeah.
But the amount of taxpayers' money spent translating for immigrants is soaring.